sky, gazing far into the night. I raise my hand to the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you.
To Esportz Premier Series 2023 as one, brought to you by Esportz.in and a smart lock screen partner Glance. I'm simply YT. In overexcitement, I forgot to unmute my mic. But anyways, hopefully Moto hasn't done the same, as he joins me today once again as my co-commentator.
No worries, simply I think my mic is unmuted. But yeah, welcome back, folks, to the action. Today we are on board with day 5 of the qualifiers 1. We head to Group 2 today. Same format as seen as yesterday, with 20-minute qualifying session at at Zolder, followed by a 30-minute race at Zolder, followed by the Super Bowl, and then the 30-minute race at Zolder, and then another 30-minute race at Silverstone. Yeah, yesterday's race was a bit underwhelming for the viewers and for us as well, but I think today's group looks quite promising. We have a lot of action, a lot of drivers to look forward to in the mid pack and in the front running, where Pro P did win, I think, one of the races, and so did Ashray. So those two drivers are in very good form right now. So do look out for them. But yeah, simply, I think you were there last time. I was absent at that moment, but yeah, talk us through what do you expect from this group that we are going on board with today.
And certainly, there was a lot of action between both of the drivers. I apologies, all of the drivers, what I meant to say, and of course, there was a very, very good fight for the lead during a few parts of the race. And yeah, I do believe that the absolute domination we saw last week from both Dipanshu and Ashray will probably not be there. But yeah, those guys both are in a league of their own, so they will for sure be far, far ahead of the rest of the pack. But yeah, general action and a lot of chaos to ensue. That is what we can expect from Zolder especially, and Silverstone, of course, a lot of just general racing and a few dive bombs here and there because, a very wide track. So, a lot of opportunities to make such moves. So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're getting ready with our drivers who are going to take to the track shortly. The weather conditions are going to be the same as last time. No change in that regard. So, still going to be dry for the race and for the Super Bowl and also for the qualifying. Let's see as I slowly bring up the drivers list over here. See, yeah. So we have Parth, we have Dhruv, we have Kiran, Dipanshu, Samad Habib, Shiv, Chandrapa, Ashray, Harsh, and Yash in the GT3 cars who are going to take to the grid today. Yeah, Propete and Ashray were your respective winners last time in the two races we had. So again, do keep an eye out for those two. But Samad Habib is also another one to watch out for because he is quite quick. So is Parth. Not quite having the raw pace, but is very smart with his moves and is quite used to chaos in other racing formats. So he's got a wise head to keep out of other people's way, and keep his race really clean. So we could see him going up the order as well, having not qualified where he would want to. But yeah, a lot of things to look forward to. um, what else is there? I think Zolda, these guys are quite familiar with already. They've done a lot of practice. This event has been going on for 5 days now. So I'm pretty sure the setups and the car is quite under them now. So do you think any change of pace is going to be seen? Do you think Propi and Asher are going to yet again take another sweep and win the respective two races, or we might have some surprises today? What do you think?
Well, we could have a few surprises, because last time around, not everyone was fully prepared for, especially Zolder, since that was the race that was after Silverstone, and because we had, the qualifying, the Super Bowl, as well as race one in Silverstone, everyone was preparing for Silverstone. That preparation is already there in their mind. They already have the muscle memory for it. Whereas now, of course, we're going to have Zolder as the main track. So a lot of these guys have been grinding out Zolder. And yeah, it just goes to show that these guys will be putting in a lot of preparation. And of course, I was about to bring up a point here, but I guess maybe luck or something. But yeah, watching on board Samad Habib, let's have some positive stuff written for him because it is his birthday today. So yeah, he'll just have that bit of birthday excitement in him, and perhaps push more. And we did see him defend off his P2 and P3 positions respectively very, very well. And I think with just that bit of a birthday spirit, I guess he will be pushing on for maybe even more and challenging Dipanshu and Ashray for P1 and P2.
Yeah, absolutely. All the best to the birthday boy today. And yeah, he's got a good car under him. He's been in the McLaren for quite a while now in past events we've had in IRC and as such. So yeah, the car is quite under him. He knows the car well. And with it being his birthday, yeah, you might have that, morale boost where, and you want to treat yourself to a nice one, and might as well do that by winning a race, or if not winning, maybe a top two or a top three. Lovely for him as well. We go on board with the main man in focus today, Propi in the McLaren Evo, the new one, which has been recently added to the game. A very, very quick car, lots of downforce in this car, very stable rear end, and really nifty on the straights as well. The turn three, bit of a late apex then, not touching any wheels in the gravel, which would cause cut retard. So very well done through that first set. Then into the Klein chicane, heading into this left and then the right, clatters both the curves. You can see the car bouncing away to glory, but very well managed over the crest and down the hill into the Villeneuve chicane. The Mickey Mouse chicane, if you want to call it. Again, clatters the curve. You can see the car visually responding as he bounces all over the curve over there on the exit. Gets a nice clean shot out of there. Shot shifting up the gears as the car does get quite light because it's rapid traction zone. Into this hairpin, then late apex. Want to swoop the car around, carry as much moving speed as you can. Yeah, while you're not sacrificing your exit because you do have quite a bit of a run. The last chicane, the Jackie one, Jackie chicane into the left-hander, into the right-hander, uses quite a bit of curve and oversteer, as you can see in the wheel, he's sawing away at it, but very well managed for the driver. And a 28-3, a respectable banker, if I must say so myself.
Yeah, very, very good luck from him. And of course, the preparation that these guys have done from the first day clearly shows. Another contender for the race win here, Chandra Ashray on the lap, as well as Yash Vikram, who is actually in P2 of the standings right now. Yeah, so he is at 27 points, whereas Momo Pro player or Dipanshu, he's at 29 points. Only 2 points difference between the two of them. However, when you look at the qualifying time sum, there is a 1.1 second gap between the two of them. So it just goes to show that Propi so far has been dominating qualifying, as he still is. 1.3 seconds of a gap to Yash Vikram there, as Kiran makes a mistake, but he will have to RTG here and go out again. Watching through in the McLaren, once again, a very McLaren dominated field, clearly. Yeah, all of these guys are on a lap. They have 15 more minutes left in the session. Times will just keep on increasing from here on out. But yeah, let's not forget that the top 5 move on to Super Bowl, so it will be quite crucial for pretty much all of these guys, considering they are quite close to each other in terms of pace. So it will be pretty much a work and a half, I guess, for these guys to move into Super Bowl, as we see Ashray Chandrapa starting his lap, going through turn 1, a very, very wide Mercedes, making it even wider, very far over the curves, taking the inside apex there, drifting off to the outside. Perfect lines to turn 1 and 2 so far from Ashray, who is a very much a fan favorite at this point to win, especially Zolder, because he is quite quick here. You know, he did win by over 30 or so seconds the last time around, so that is what people are expecting once again. As he comes through this downhill section, immediately brakes as soon as the curve ends, taking as much of the apex as possible, getting very, very close to the bollard, as the bollard signifies the track limits. This corner really needs to have the confidence from the driver, as it can prove quite difficult, because it's just a very visual sort of a hag for these guys, because it feels like the car's washing off, but realistically it's not. He has tackled all of the corners well, just coming into the final chicane, where you have to prioritize the exit, because you do have a quite long straight coming up after. Taking the inside line there, bouncing up and down a bit, goes off wide because of that. Will not be the quickest times, but where will it be? Oh, never mind, I take that back. That is pole by 300ths of a second. But I can't say he has lost a bit of time because of his few mistakes here and there.
I'd say he's lost a lot of time simply because even in Sector 1, though you said his lines were perfect, he did clatter the curb quite a bit on the apexes of that sector, and then we saw the chicane as well with a mess up. So if he's done that lap with that time, with such a, well, I wouldn't call it a dirty lap, not a perfect lap by his standards. So I'm pretty sure he's got a lot of time on the table, and with the banker being that quick, it's going to give him that needed confidence just to propel himself up the grid. He is in the Merc, so that car inherently has a bit of advantage around this circuit, where we've talked about how a higher ride height or a higher car just is more beneficial in this order, because you're going to desolate these curves and decimate them as you ramp up into these chicanes, carrying as much speed as you can. So yeah, that Merc is very quick around here, as shown by Ashray's time, but not to take away from his good lap either. Good banker by the Merc driver there. As we go on board with the sole Ferrari, I think it's the new Ferrari if I'm not wrong. As he goes into turn 1, very nicely done there, very clean line. The turn 2, a bit tentative on the turn in, but it's still a very clean line. So as long as it's clean and tidy, it's going to be nice and smooth for him. out of turn 3, not touching the gravel whatsoever. Very brilliant in track moves there, not pushing the car as much as you'd like to into blind chicane. That is a lot of curve there. Car visually getting upset once again. No liberties taken on track number 7. He goes that corner is where a lot of time is if you know, it's a bit of a risk versus reward thing. However, he has missed the chicane at the apex of that chicane a bit, so he's going to compromise his exit up the hill here. Slowly shifting up the gears into third, into fourth, into the hairpin, trailing into the apex, get the car nicely pointed in and boost out of there with the throttle, just punch it down, stand on the throttle if you will, with the PC helping the car stabilizing that rear end. Going all the way to the right of the track to prepare himself for this braking zone, get the car nicely turned in for the first and the second one, but cuts back to the right, which is actually going to harm his lap time rather than save it. P6 there, I do not think. No, that was an improvement, but I think he might have invalidated.
Invalidation.
Yeah, he might have. He's invalidated. So yeah, as I was saying, when you exit out that last chicane, I think we saw Davlish do it yesterday. Just stuck to the left-hand side of the wall, minimizing his distance to the line. So it's just a few thousandths, but just a few thousandths is what Dipanshu right now needs, or actually hundreds is what he needs to get himself into P1. So yeah, it's all about pushing as much as you can and being smart about your lines as well. The pedals are there to help you out on the braking, the throttle, but the wheel is there to position that car in the perfect place where you minimize the distance to the next corner or the line, trying to get that ultimate lap time in. As Patel crosses the line, does not improve on that lap time there and finds himself in P7, 2.8 seconds or a second off P6, so a long ways to go for that lap.
Yeah, well, Arthur did miss out on his fastest time by just 1/100th of a second, so that is going to be a bummer for him. But lucky he can go for multiple laps, as we can see. I believe either Asher or Baldy right behind him. Yeah, that was Baldy just going off onto the dirt there. But staying focused on Parth here. Coming into the chicane, and someone's obviously taken out the bollards there, the track limit bollards, but he's taken the chicane quite well, to be honest. He's mounted the curves properly, and he's now turned off quite a little bit too cautious, I would say, because ideally you'd want to be on the curb there rather than staying, all four tires on the track. But that's fine. Every driver has their ideology of getting a fastest lap, and that is what he's practice. That's what he's going to do, since that is what he's most comfortable with. Coming into the final chicane, missing the first apex, hitting the second one, getting a decent exit. It's not one of the best exits that we have seen, but it's a decent exit out of the final corner, and he does improve, and actually only 1/100th of a second off of Kiran here, and about 5/10 off of Yash, who's currently P5. So provisionally he does go through. What can Ashray do? Increase the gap is what he can do by 1.5 tenths. So now the total gap between him and Dipanshu is 2.5 tenths exactly. So 2.5 tenths, it's not really that big of a gap, especially for someone like Dipanshu to close down. So Ashray will have to do more, but then again, they're taking the liberty of us having multiple laps here. To keep on going for those multiple laps and slowly but surely improve their pace, as we once again come back to Samad Habib, who has tackled the first two sectors of this track quite well, coming into the final corner, or rather the final chicane, whatever you like to call it. A lot of chicanes in this track, and gets a iffy exit, not the best exits. But he's going to come across the line. Will he improve? He does not improve. Actually, he did improve by a tenth, but he's invalidated his lap time somewhere. So that is unfortunate for him. As we go on board to P2, Dipanshu and Ashray, you can just see in the background, just trailing a bit behind, trying to take whatever slipstream that he can get. But I believe he's just a little bit too far away for that. But yeah, he's trailing Dipanshu quite closely. Dipanshu running off wide might be another invalidation for him. Let's see, will he invalidate? No, he was just slower. Ashley has stopped at the exit of the final corner and has RTG'd as we go on board with Kiran in the lone Ferrari, getting right on the white edges of the track limits right there. Going through the chicane quite well, taking the exit curve as well while he's at it. He'll be coming across the line. Will he improve? He certainly does improve by quite a lot. Goes up into P3, pushes Samad Habib into a sort of a danger zone, a knockout zone, I guess, because he's P5. Yash Vikram only 400s away from Samad Habib here. And if Yash does improve, that puts Samad Habib out of the contention of Super Pole. So Samad Habib will have to do a lot more. He did improve on his previous lap, but did invalidate it. So hopefully he has improved a lot more and also has not invalidated his lap time. Let's see. He just goes slower by a 10th here. Not ideal situation for him because Yash Vikram, he's also doing multiple laps just like the other guys, and if he improves, Samad Habib will be knocked out at a track where he was doing quite well just a few days ago.
Yeah, absolutely. Samad does find himself in the danger zone of the Super Bowl knockout, which is up to P5 if you've forgotten, folks. But interestingly, simply, I think on the stock, we just didn't notice that Asher has actually pulled out a buffer to the Panchu. He's peaked out a 2.5 lengths gap to Kopi, or the Panchu, whatever you want to call him. But yeah, Asher does seem to have the measure on him right now, so far in the session. Whereas Kopi, I think all his laps after haven't been as quick or haven't been quicker. But there you go, Samad, feeling the pressure of being knocked out of the Super Bowl and having a bit of an offing into the wall there. As we see another driver, Shiv Baldi, in the mug, getting out of shape there on the exit of that corner, and I think the TC might have been too low for his liking because it's quite common to spin out in that corner because it's quite high speed. On board with the current provisional pole sitter, Chandrapa Ashley. Is he on a lap? No, he's not. He's on his out lap or in lap or whatever it is. It might be invalidated because the red dot on the map, folks, it does mean that it's either an in lap or an out lap or an invalid lap. So yeah, do keep an eye out on that in the future if you have any as to who's on a competitive lap or not. But now let's see. He's certainly pushing on this lap quite a lot, given that he's on his out lap. But it's important to get a feel for the track and important to find where the limits of the car and the track are, especially around Zolder, which is already so narrow. It's all the more integral that you extract as much as you can. It's a short track as well. So any mistake is really brutally punished with lap time here because with how short it is, you can make a mistake into any one of these corners in almost a 10.5 as well. As he goes on board his hot lap, let's go into sector 1, into sector 2, training on the brakes. The car nicely turned in, a bit of snap of oversteer there, but manages that pretty well. Turn through. Flinging the car in, the car, washing out wide. You can see visually this not turning in, even though the wheel was still locked in into the apex there. But very tidy through there, a lot of minimum speed carry, fine chicane. Glatters the curve quite a lot. Even the Merc begging for mercy there as he completely rides that curve into the flying chicane. Into wheel nerve now, braking while turning and make sure you get the car pointed as straight as possible. And I don't think he got the turn in enough, and I'm pretty sure that's an invalidation for him. Or not, because his dot is still blue, so he might still be on a competitive lap, but I'm pretty sure he lost a lot of time through those corners there. Yeah, I think Zolder is really starting to get the pressure mounted on these drivers. As we can see, another car absolutely torturing his Ferrari over the Klein chicane. hopping about. But no, Hong gets a good exit into this Mickey Mouse chicane as we cut away to Yash now in the Lambo. Going about his business, finds himself challenging for that Super Bowl session. Just less than a tenth in it, So it's the battle between these two drivers and Propi and Ashray. So these four drivers right now in a league of their own and in a battle of their own, trying to pit each other for their respective positions in this session so far. But Rush gets a bit of snap post here, but one a bit minutes remaining. Yeah, let's see how they proceed from here.
Yep, that mistake could have been costly if we didn't have much time left on our hands. However, we do have quite a bit of time. Not enough for Samad Habib to come out. So Samad Habib over here has either accepted that he has the potential of being knocked out, or he just knows perhaps within him that Yash might not be able to cover those 400s that is required for Samad to be in the Super Bowl or not. But I mean, it could be heartbreaking for him, because if Yash does improve, I mean, he's started his lap, another one, so this could be his opportunity, unless he's made a mistake so far, which we have not seen. So he is looking to improve by just 400s here, preferably a little bit more than that. But 400s would obviously not hurt, since that gives a very, very solid chance of the Super Bowl. Actually, that would put him in the Super Bowl. Taking the curbs quite well, avoiding the second one as you are supposed to. As the sausage curbs are very, very high there, but not here though, so you can take the curbs quite a bit, just as much as he had. He's completely routed them, as a matter of fact. Very close to track limits there. And a very solid line through the uphill section, just coming into the hairpin now, braking just as the tire marks start. Timer starts 0, and Yash coming into the final corner. By the looks of it, this will be an improvement. Would be an improvement for Yash, knocking Samad Habib out of this qualifying. Let's see as Yash comes across the line. Yash goes up into P5 and knocks Samad Habib out. So, yeah, Samad will for sure be quite unhappy with that, as he's only been knocked out by about almost a second here. Sorry, a tenth here. Apologies. So, it's not. He of course would have liked to have more, but it is what it is.
Yeah, late charge by Yash there, knocking out Samad, and that was a great qualifying session. In the end, I think Ashray did take pole position, as Propi was just unable to answer for that behemoth lap time set by the Merc driver. But it seems that we have a good race on the prospect, a good Super Bowl, apologies, on the prospect for us as the five drivers tussle it out on this one shot, one opportunity session. Looking into the session, I think I have a few notes here on the drivers. So yeah, we do know that Ashray is one to, well, he's one to crack under pressure quite often. He has showed that in the past, but it could be a chance to redeem himself. He could, prove us wrong tonight. But I'd still say that Propi is one in my bet that he's one for the Super Bowl pole. But you never know. Ashley could surprise us. Propi has been, he's no stranger to this format. I think in AWAR a few seasons ago, which is another quite a high league format system out there and based in Europe. So he was partaking in that Super Bowl in Spain, I think, Catalonia, and he did get pole in that Super Bowl session by quite a margin. So he's no stranger to this format. He's very well. He's a veteran, if you could say so, of this format. So I still think he's the one for the Super Bowl pole position, which is, turning it quite funny to say again and again, the Super Bowl pole there. But yeah, in my eyes, I think Propi has this in the bag, but never know, Ashray or even Kiran who's actually surprised all of us right now, because he was I don't know, he was not quite there in the previous days, and day two, I think, but he's in P3 right now in the first session. So he's one to watch out for in this upcoming session right now. But yeah, any thoughts on the session to go now? Simply, what do you think might unravel?
I think a lot of action's about to unravel because one shot, one opportunity, and these guys can't mess it up really. Although, when you are under pressure, you could potentially end up doing it. But what I will do now is segue to a very, very short break, which after that, we will come back to watch these guys take on the Super Bowl.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, everyone, welcome back from that short little break. We have Super Bowl coming up right ahead of us. Five drivers fighting it out for the pole position. A lot of mistake opportunities will also be created because of the nature of the track as well as the nature of the format. What do you expect, Moto? Who do you reckon could take away that pole? Because I mean, of course, you have been mentioning the solid contenders like the Panshu, your Ashray, as well as Samad Habib. But do you reckon out of the other two, which being Yash Vikram and Baldy, do you reckon one of those could pull through? Because it is quite easy to invalidate at this circuit, or maybe make a very very big mistake that could cost you a lot of lap time.
Yeah, I mean, I think Propi and Dipanshu and Ashley are still the top two contenders for this Super Bowl, but given by how consistent Propi's been, he's got sort of an upper hand. But I think Kiran might surprise us because he's got quite a bit of raw pace, but he did make quite a few mistakes in the session where he did go off quite a bit into that chicane. So, in this one shot, one opportunity, when you have the nerves at play, it's it's even more integral that you don't mess up on that lap, that one lap. And when the nerves are that high, it's really hard to push yourself and do an actual competitive lap. Whereas in a session, in the time session, you have time to recollect yourself, to think about where you're going wrong, to RTG and then go out again. That you don't have the luxury anymore. So when the pressure's all mounted on you, it just comes down to how strong you are mentally to just shut everything out and just focus on that lap you're going to do. So it just comes down to that. And yeah, I do think Kiran might surprise us because he does have quite a bit of pace, but it all depends as to how he strings his lap together. But I think we are just about ready to head on to the Super Bowl session. Same conditions, same track temperature and ambient temperature as well. So they're not going to be the conditions aren't alienated for them. They're not just coolers. They can proceed with their outlaps as to what they were doing in the time session. So they'll probably take a similar approach with how they're going to heat their tires up and their brakes up. But yeah, all to play for. The top three is certainly all to play for. But let's see. Might have some surprises under the belt tonight.
Yes, indeed, and just a bit of correction from earlier on, from what Motors said. If the driver is highlighted red on this circuit, it means that we are currently viewing them, and not that they have invalidated. And a blue means that either they've invalidated their lap or they're on an out lap. And when they are gray, that means that they are on a hot lap. So just to clear that up for the viewers, so that we don't get confused here. But yeah, watching Yash Vikram in his Lambo Evo 2 coming into the final chicane. He's about to start his lap. A very, very good exit out of the final corner is required. And he does get a pretty normal exit out of the final corner. Starting his lap, going into turn one, downshift to second, running off a bit wide, actually missing the inside curb, and coming into turn two, once again missing the inside curb, so he might be struggling a little bit with the understeer. His front tires might not be up to temperature just yet, which could be an issue. However, he has managed to do that, take that corner's inside curb. So I guess perhaps down to the setup of the lines that he's choosing to take. Coming through the very dangerous chicane, that's what I like to call it anyways. Yeah, he's taken the second apex, which is something that you should generally avoid because of the sausage curbs that are there. Coming into this chicane, he mounts the curbs a little too well. Might be an invalidation. I'm not too sure about that, as his car did bounce over, which means that he did go over the sausage curbs, but I think he was just barely on the track limits there. Coming into the final hairpin, taking a very good line through there, right on the curves to maximize your track width. Coming into the final chicane, braking just before the ad board that is placed high above the circuit. A bit dodgy exit there. Might not have lost him too much time though, as he comes across the line to set a lap time over 29.6.
Yeah, decent lap, but I don't think it's going to be challenging the top runners. But yeah, as we go on board with Baldy, currently on his outlap, preparing his tires and his brakes, getting the feel for the circuit, for the car under him. You can see the brakes are being gridded right now just to get the tires up. So he's left that quite late actually in his lap because he's nearing the end and he's focusing on this right now. So hopefully that's not going to deter him for his hot lap to come right now. Out of the final chicane, sacrifices a very, very wide entry for a good exit because, again, crucial getting in those high Ks. You want to have down the straight for turn one and then turning in just after the billboard on the top. It's the car nice and pointed, a bit hesitant on the throttle and also in the exit, not quite utilizing all the estate offered to him. Into turn two, gets the car pointed in nicely using the camera of the circuit, drifts out wide and strings together that sequence of corners very nicely into this near flat right-hander. Very late turn in and didn't quite take enough apex for his own liking. I'm guessing he might be thinking he won't be too happy with that. But now into the blind chicane, very, very, very conservative through that section right there. Not wanting to risk it all for the disqualification or for the invalidation rather in this one-shot, one opportunity format we have right now. Up the crest using the curve and a bit of the grass as well to get a nice swing shot exit over the hill and down the crest into the hairpin, breaking as the tire marks start on the tarmac. Get the car nicely getting short shifting on the exit to get the car down as quick as possible. To the final chicane, getting the car pointed into the left after the billboard is where you want to brake and trail in the corner quickly and sticks to the left hand side, which is what we were talking about earlier, minimizing his distance to the line and misses out provisional pole by just under a tenth with 900s to Yash in the lap.
Solid effort nonetheless. 2 out of the 5 drivers have set lap time so far. Kiran on an out lap now. He seems to be taking it in quite a quick way. I think he's not really going for the brakes, heat up the tires strategy, but more like friction of me rolling the car around the corners quite quickly heats up the tires. That will chew away very, very slightly at his tire wear, but it's nothing too significant. Maybe maximum, maybe 100th or 2 here or there. But of course, every little millisecond, every little thousandth of a second counts in qualifying. As we can see, Baldy, of course, he's missed out on provisional pole by 900, so clearly those 900s didn't count by a lot. Kiran will be trying to get that provisional pole away from Yash just about now as he is doing his hot lap. Taking third gear, missing the apex there, running a bit wide, almost going onto the dirt off on the exit right there, braking just near the lamp and taking the chicane quite well. Being a little bit cautious, but that's a solid line through there nonetheless. Coming after into the braking zone of the Mickey Mouse chicanes, you want to brake right after the curve ends, which he did. Mounted the curves quite well, and now I'd say the trickiest corner because it asks a lot of thrust from the driver rather than the into the car rather than the car itself. He's tackled that quite well, coming into the hairpin, getting very close to the inside curb, but avoiding that to get a very good exit out of it. Finally, run up into the final corner, braking once again just before the ad hoarding right above the track right there, getting a decent exit out of the final corner, maybe a little bit too much of the exit curve, comes across the line for a provisional pole by 2.5 tenths with a 29.397 as Dipanshu is also about to begin his lap and take us away with this one.
Yeah, he's certainly pushed a lot on his out lap because we just finished that lap and he's already nearing to start his lap. But nevertheless, might be aggressive with the tire warm up and might prove beneficial to his lap. Into turn one, braking just after the billboard on the top, taking the car nicely going in, sweeping and stringing together these apexes as smooth as you can. Getting the car nicely turning for that corner as well using the camber to get the car rotated on the brakes into turn three now. Blind on the exit where you can only see the gravel and barely the curb, so very crucial not to dip the wheel into the gravel as to slow down, but manages to negotiate that very well into this blind chicane using a lot of curve on the second part as well, completely hopping over glory on the second part of that chicane into wheel nerve. Brakes as the tire marks start on the left hand on the track there, gets a nice line through there. Very quick work of the wheel. You can see the wheel being worked away a lot in that part of the track because you really need to force the car into the corners, into the apex in that section, into the hairpin sweeping round, gets the car nicely out of the throttle as well. Bang on with the straight approaching now into the last chicane, braking just as the billboard on the top disappears out of your vision, and into this corner gets a nice slingshot exit, and then he chooses to go back to the right hand side of the track and doesn't harm his lap whatsoever. 2 and a bit tenths to kill him in the Ferrari, and yeah, quite a decent lap there, but I think it was quite a ways off his in-session time of the actual qualifying session we had just a while ago. So yeah, not completely pushing the limits, but does secure a nice provisional pole gap of 2.5 tenths to P2 right now.
Yeah, and the ironic part being that the chicane he was talking about avoiding the curves, that is exactly where he took too much of it and his car just bounced up and down like a trampoline. So that, of course, costed him loads of time, hence the unrepresentative lap time. Makes things easier for Chandra Pasher, who we are on board currently coming into turn 2 in his very wide Mercedes. Did a bit of snap of oversteer there, a loss of balance from his rear there, I guess a bit too excited on the throttle, but the nerves are, of course, well and truly kicked in at this point for him, so he's just trying to keep them calm. Hopefully he doesn't make the same mistake as what Dipanshu did, as that could have cost him a lot of time, and does not do it as aggressively as what Dipanshu did. So not much of a lap time loss for Chandrapa Ashray. Coming through into sector 2, using up a lot of the curb. That did look like and it is track limits for Ashray. Someone who took pole and dominated at Zolder just some time ago has unfortunately not been able to set a pole here at all, and that is an unfortunate P5 for Ashray.
Yeah, not to say I saw it coming, but yeah, it was looking like to be a very good lap till that invalidation. He was really pushing the limits of the car, and then in the end, I think he pushed a bit too hard for his own liking and had to deal with an invalidation starting in P5, not that far down the grid. So, still, the win is on the cards for any of these drivers. To be fair, we only have 8 of them driving tonight, so it's going to be interesting to see what sort of approach Ashley is going to take now into the race, because starting P2 he might have been a bit conservative in the first few laps or so, but now starting in the mid pack he might have to push from the get-go, trying to catch up to Propi, because he does have the pace around those around him. But then, as many times as we mention it, and we'll continue to mention it, another thing to follow, and completely a different challenge to pass a car, especially around Zolda, which is tight, twisty, and technical. But yeah, folks, that is it for the Super Pole. Fantastic session, Propi securing a good pole position in that Super Pole session right now, 2.5 tenths. But the action is yet to kick off in the first race at Zolder. So see you folks in around 5 minutes time as we return from a short break.
like a Hellcat. Coming like a Hellcat. Like a Hellcat.
All right, everyone, we're once again back after a very, very nice short break and a very, very nice session at the Super Bowl with Dipanshu taking over the poll, and the biggest upset being Chandra Pasha not being able to take his poll that he was looking quite solid on. Won't really, I'd say, hit at him that way because he knows what he's capable of, especially at a technical circuit like Zolder. He knows what he's capable of doing over a very, very long race time, which is 30 minutes that we do have coming up. So, he does have that confidence in him, but of course, he does not have the track position, which is quite keen at Zolder. He's starting P5, which is not very wanted. Maybe a top 3 would have been ideal for him rather than a P5. So he just have to do a lot more work and avoid a lot more chaos that will be coming up his way, considering he's starting right near Samad Habib, who he did have a small bit of contact with on the Group B's day 1. Yeah, that is something that he will certainly have to avoid.
Yeah, starting in a mid pack is something. It's not something any driver, especially any quick driver, wants because just adds to the risk of being caught up in any skirmishes on lap 1. So yeah, Ashley is going to be quite tentative on his start, but then not too tentative where he's going to actually end up losing positions. Something similar what happened to Norris in the Mexico red flag restart, where he was a bit out of position, and because of that, he had to be tentative on the start, and then he actually lost quite a lot of positions because of his poor start. So he actually would certainly not want that to happen, but at the same time, you want to keep an eye out for any stray cars just flying by or passing by. But hopefully, it doesn't come down to that, and we don't have a very chaotic session. But yeah, in terms of wheel-to-wheel racing, we have Propi who's going to try and defend from Kiran as hard as he can, and then Ashley is going to be on the charge, and so is Samad, because Samad is one to be quite patient with his moves as well, like a lot of other drivers. So, and he's got the racecraft in the bag as well, so we might see him move up the grid as well uh, for the race to come. But I think we are just about ready to head down to the track, and let's see what the first race has in store for us.
We will have to see what Samad Habib can do, and especially all eyes will be on Ashley, putting a lot more pressure on him to be able to get to that P1, because if he doesn't, well, the punch is looking quite solid. And considering that he didn't even have the best of laps and he still took pole by about 2.5 tenths, I think he, of course, has a lot more lap time margin left with him. and that is something that only Ashray can deal with, and perhaps close up that margin to Dipanshu. So yeah, he'll have to deal with a lot of traffic from behind as well as ahead of him. 3 cars or 4 cars separating him and Dipanshu. So a lot of hard work from Ashray that we'll have to see, because he'll have to mentally prepare to do it and think of the exact corners where he wants to make the move, and of course set up those moves as well, because that's not something easy to do in ACC either. So a lot of pressure has to be put on from the driver attacking for multiple laps for that to happen, and those are the multiple laps that it does not have, because if he takes his time with every single car in between him and Dipanshu would have already left a gap of a sector by that point. So that is something he will have to consider as he does start in a P5, and unfortunately we have lost Dhruv for the remainder of the day, because he has some technical issues on his side. So that is an unfortunate bit, but hopefully all these 7 drivers will give us a good race, as Moto will take us away with the start here.
Yeah, glad to simply, and all the drivers are ready. 7 drivers taking to the grid at Zolder for day 5 of Qualifier 1. And let's see what the action is going to unravel tonight. Before the start, you again, as your outlap, you want to make sure you get your tires in a bit. Few drivers getting caught out by the sudden braking and the release of those brakes, trying to get the tires and the brakes up to temp, but no harm done and all that. As we get ready for green flag racing, Kiran seems to have a very good run in on Kopi as well. Further behind, it's Ashray trying to send it down the inside of turn 1, and he gets caught up in that. And a lot of drivers going away. That's Kiran as well who gets caught up in that, and I think Baldy takes the lead into turn 1. No, never mind. Baldy does not take the lead. It's still Kopi in the lead, but that's Baldy in P2 with a pretty clean start for him.
Not an ideal start for any of the drivers, them being Kiran, Chandra Ashray as well as Yash Vikram. Few drivers we had in the top 5. Unfortunately, not ideal for any of them, and especially not ideal for Ashray. I think we've fully commentators person without actually even saying anything positive, because he's down in P6 with a definite damage on that already somewhat of an understeery car. That is that very long-nosed Mercedes of him, as Parth Patel, who is in P4 of his first appearance in the top 5 here. He is struggling to keep his car on the track while he's being hounded by Kiran, who of course does have a bit of damage himself, but clearly that damage is being mitigated by his pace, as the guys are still fresh, a lot of life left in them. And as we're only finishing up lap 1 in just a few seconds here, as Kiran almost hitting the rear of Parth Patel going into the chicane. Parth getting a very, very bad exit through there, and this will certainly help Kiran set up a move going into turn 1. I think he might be a little bit too far for it, but the pressure is constantly on. That's also pulled in Ashray into this battle. Parth running just a bit wide here, as Kiran does come back in to the inside of Parth here. Parth doing whatever he can to defend away from Kiran and Ashray, holding these guys up, creating a gap of 3 seconds. And he's gone off the track, made a big mistake, and he's decided to let the guys by rather than take them out. Chandrapa Ashray setting up a very, very good move, looking down the inside of Kiran, going into the chicane. And does he come out ahead? Parth Patel does come out behind Yash Vikram there. And by the looks of it, Ashray is indeed ahead, making a potentially a very, very good move there. And his efforts are not gone to complete waste. Dipanshu is almost 8 seconds ahead of these guys, and that battling on the first 1.5 laps has certainly not helped them out.
Yeah, I wouldn't say potentially great move. It is a great move because he has put himself in that elusive P4, P6 position. If I'm not wrong. Is that P4? My bad. As the leaderboard is just getting up a few laps or so. But further up ahead, simply I think the gap is in 7.5 seconds visually, because you can see how close Baldy's following that McLaren. right up his rear diffuser, almost as Ashray looks to make inroads on this leading pack. Certainly doing that will not help as he runs wide, but now has to focus. But the maroon Ferrari occupying his mirrors right now and putting the pressure on the Merc driver. But having made a great move, he's going to have to now pull out some great defensive maneuvers, try to keep this very rapid Ferrari behind. You can see the damage visually affecting his Merc, and he gets a bit wayward on the exit of there. And heading into the tank chicane, let's see how much risk these guys are preparing to take right now. A similar line through that part of the circuit shows that everyone's still quite tentative with their driver and not pushing all out. But tell you what, as the Ferrari of Killam gets a bit wayward on the Villeneuve chicane and has to let the cars through, and that's going to be pretty. That's going to be what do you call it? Pretty good for Ashley, as he's going to be jumping for joy to see as he does not have to focus on that hounding Ferrari anymore. But further up, you can see that menacing Merc just right up the rear diffuser of Propi, who does not seem to have the outright pace in race trim as compared to qualifying. And simply this looks this is shaping up to be a great battle right now.
Totally, and Ashery is 7.5 seconds behind these guys. So as Propi has lost a bit of time, and the quality is putting a lot of pressure on him. Asher will absolutely take that. If Dipanshu does lose out on a bit of time here, that just brings him and some other people any closer to those guys. And, they could have a four-way battle for P1 that's at least what Asher would find ideal, because in a four-way battle, these guys, anyone up ahead is bound to make a mistake because of the sheer amount of cars you're going to see in your mirrors. And that is going to obviously help out the guys behind, as we did see earlier on just a lap ago when Partha did end up making that mistake. So that is what Ashley is hoping for. They're not really pulling away from the pack. Rather, some of Habib and Ashley are actually pulling into these guys just by a few tenths a lap. And if they do actually properly start fighting, then that gap is just going to reduce very, very quickly. I think they've just decided to keep it with themselves, not really start attacking each other, because that, of course, would not be ideal for either of them. And as you can see in a very nice split screen here, on the right you can see the battle for the lead, and on the left you can see the battle between Ashrey and Samad Habib. They are coming through the final corner, so they're not really too far away from the leaders, but a 7-second gap is still a 7-second gap. And they're just looking to close that in. I think both the group of drivers have decided to not fight each other here, as that time loss would just not be good, because if Ashley and Samad fight, then they do lose out on a lot more time to the leaders, and if the leaders end up fighting, then they lose out on a lot of time to these guys behind. So I think both of them have just decided to work together, and this will be the best strategy for them, as they have pulled in half a second just this lap to the leaders. So I think this is what ideally should be going on for them.
Certainly so. Hopefully that infighting does not cause these guys to get reeled back into Ashley. He was going to put on a late charge now. He's already catching up to Samad in the cabin while Ashley's up. So that might look pretty nifty in this session so far. Even with the damage he might have sustained in that first lap 1 incident, he seems to have bundles of pace on the cabin. So as I think Propi is just about to start to stretch his legs a bit, pulling out a 1.1 second gap. Thereabouts a second or so, and I think Baldus is going to hang back for a while, conserve his tires, but you can see Ashley has completely reeled its models, just slowly and surely dropped away from the lead back, and is now going to have to focus every bit of racing knowledge he has to keep that Merc behind him for as long as he can, because he knows that he doesn't have a chance to catch up to P1 and 2 if they don't fight. So now it's going to be a defensive masterclass for him to show, and I'm pretty sure he will show that right now, because so far it seems that Ashley is a bit rattled by that lap 1 incident. He's been caught up on quite a few incidents. Even on day 2, he was caught up in a few incidents with Samad as well. So I think these old rivals return once again. They tussle it out on the track. But you can see what a monster exit Ashley's gotten from this chicane there, putting right up alongside the McLaren driver. Is he going to go around the outside? Gets run out of road there and has to let Samad go. No, he stayed ahead. So not quite sure what happened there. I think he was just run out of road a bit, or maybe the track just tightened up too much for him, and he had to slow down to not take in that advantage he would have gotten after cutting so much of the track, as the Lambo has a bit of an offer in sector 2. Quite a while away from Kiran, who's P5, but slowly the Ferrari of Kiran is reeling these two in as well, after having suffered that offing early on in the race. So that Ferrari is one to look out for as well, because with 20 and a bit minutes left in the session, as it just narrowly pops into view in the camera there, he certainly has a lot of time to make amends on that mistake he made and put himself in the podium position right now. Oh,
not ideal for Ashray or Samad, because they are losing time to Kiran now, who actually, funnily enough, they are currently placed in their actual standing order of their group. So Samad is he is ahead of Ashray, and Samad being in P3 in the standings, as well as of course the race right now. Ashray in P4 and Kiran in P5. And that is car number 36. Baldy has made a mistake coming out of the chicane. Double yellow flags. Baldy is rejoining. That's going to hold these guys up. That is not ideal for them. Dipanshu running away. And they're lucky to not have an incident right here. But this battle is just going to heat up unnecessarily. Kiran has pulled in 2 seconds in a matter of 1 corner. Both of them having to brake very, very cautiously to try and avoid hitting Baldy. Samad Habib going side by side with Baldy, and he is ahead of Baldy. And Baldy closing in after getting a very, very good exit there. Both of them going side by side at the final chicane. Ashley closing in onto Samad Habib because of Baldy closing Samad Habib in. Kiran's right up in this battle as well. He's closed in over 2 seconds in just 1 sector. And Propi has pulled off 4 seconds in just 2 sectors here as well. So Ashley's chances of winning this race, despite being very dominant on the first day, are pretty much diminished unless Propi makes a mistake. However, Ashley has moved up into P3 after overtaking Samad Habib, who will be put under pressure by Kiran just about in a second here. And Ashray, once again, both the endurance races teammates beat. Ash up the inside of Baldy, does not make a move. Samad Habib almost hitting the rear of Ashray there, out to break himself, and he was ahead of Kiran. And Ashray makes very, very good move around the outside of Baldy going up into P2. But this battle, though unexpected, has lost these guys a lot of time.
Wow, that's what you really want to see in sim racing, isn't it? 4 cars just not pulling any punches at whatsoever, just heading straight for the jugular and dusting it out. But yeah, great sequence of events there. But now Nirma does have to break a leg, catch up to these guys in front of him, because he is the sole loser of this 4-way battle right now, having suffered and lost 2 positions. So it's going to be a pretty uphill task for him to get back up there in the podium positions. But Ashray showing a good cool head, keeping it clean but aggressive on his moves as well. And I think Baldy is going to be a bit rattled by that, because he was in a comfortable P2, but then having made that mistake had to drop back into this infighting pack. As we can see, the Lambo of Yash has a 10-second penalty looming over him. I'm guessing that's for track limits, or maybe he's been caught up in an incident, because track usually results in a drive-through. But once again, these 3 cars just so close together. I think that's is that body flashing, or no? That's I think that's the sunlight being reflected onto the headlights. Yeah, it's just great to see such good wheel-to-wheel, such good wheel-to-wheel action on the tight circular order. But I think there's a lot more to come, simply 16 and a bit minutes left in the session.
a lot more to come, and hopefully not a lot more penalties to come, because Yash, as you did mention earlier, has picked up a 10 seconds and also 1 penalty point for causing a severe collision with cars ahead. I'm not sure, I can't remember what incident that was for, but yeah, 10 seconds and 1 penalty point on top of that is certainly not ideal for his race or his standings, because a penalty point, if you rack up enough of them, you won't be allowed to take part in the qualifying, and if you rack up even more of them, you could be given a race ban, which is something he does not need in his current situation. And talking in terms of good wheel-to-wheel battles, all of these guys are within a few tenths of each other in terms of lap times, so they are holding out quite well. Yash is still losing out around a second to these guys, and of course Dipanshu has pulled away a massive gap to all of these guys, around 16 seconds to Ashray. So yeah, he's in a bit of a Sunday cruise mode right now, and it's not all over for Ashray, as Baldy, Kiran and Samadhibib are all eyeing up a move on him.
Absolutely. Gopi is it's a dream scenario for him, because he's always wanted to refuse or to be reluctant to going wheel to wheel, and chooses to have a nice and peaceful drive, and that's been helped by these four who are providing a great show for us viewers and us commentators as well, where they're just tussling it out, lap after lap, corner after corner. But a lot more to come. Kiran has a lot of damage on the Ferrari from the bodywork. I can see evidently that the car is not in perfect condition, but he's still, starting to about pretty well and quite quickly. Especially the rear diffuser seems to be pretty beat up, and that's where all the stability of the car is, which you do need quite a bit of around these very high traction zones. But I think Ashley started to stretch his legs as well a little, pulling out a gap, lapping the 29s, whereas the others behind him in the 30s, Habib and Kiran, quite close in lap time. But how wide can that Merc be? Can the body make that Merc to prevent the onslaught of the rapid Ferrari, who's just looking to get the move done as soon as possible, because 14 bit minutes left. Tires will be screaming at this stage, considering the amount of infighting they've done. Certainly the tires are not going to be in top shape, because when you break offline on this sim, you do pick up a lot of pickup on the track. We call them marbles, or the rubber from the tires. It does simulate that, so that does add to the tire wear. It can drain your tires as well. So these drivers are gonna have to start conserving a bit, and get into that flow state, and then pick their poison for their moves in the latter part of the race. I'd say around minute 5 or so on the clock is where everyone starts to get the hurry up, and that's when the true raw pace turns out and is in full display by the drivers on the track right now. So as Asher dips into the 28, it's a very quick lap time for him. Again, almost a second and a half clear of Baldy. So he is really stretching his legs, but I think it's a bit too late for him, and all that infighting has taken away any chances of him getting P1, unless Propi, I don't want to commentate curse him, but unless Propi has an offing of himself and is forced to start to defend from Ashley. But so far, it looks like Ashley has got a good lead on class 8.
Yeah, not a bad lead for Ashley, and Propi quite comfortably in P1, to be honest. Yeah, unless he does make a crucial mistake, I don't think he will be anywhere close to these guys with 12 and a half minutes left. Of course, Ashley can keep up his 28 pace. However, it's of course not going to be enough. Ideally, he should be closing in by like 3 or 4 seconds a lap. But then again, he is notably Singh. Of course, no offense to anyone, but yeah, it's just kind of hard to do when Propi is doing a 29 5s and Ashley is only about a second faster. So that is going to be quite a long while. As Parth Patel is something we didn't notice. He's actually gone into the pits. Not sure why he's done so. And Ashley's done a 30.8 after doing a 28, in his previous laps. So his inconsistencies are clearly showing out here, which is not ideal for his race whatsoever, because if Propi does make even the smallest of mistake, as long as that gap does close by quite a bit, he can certainly try and capitalize on Propi's hot tires, as well as if he has picked up any damage, then damage. So not a good situation Ashray is in right now, but if he does want to start making some inroads towards Dipanshu, then he will have to start setting those 28s once again.
Yeah, hopefully that inconsistency in lap time is in the pain of his existence right now, because he certainly does not need that with cars being just so close behind him. And meanwhile, Kiran seems to have fallen off pace quite a bit, whereas the McLaren of Samad is right up his rear diffuser, looking to make a move. He was the loser out of the four-way battle, if it's a rather mean way to put it. It's what fans were, and having suffered that loss, I think he's going to be even more willing to make the move down Kiran. And he's before today's qualifying. Let's see, where can he get the pass done? He looks to be quite quick in the third sector, which is where, it's quite technical. It's the two low speed corners, whereas the sector one is where the car is doing more of the work at high speed. Sector two is more in the driver. Whereas the slower the corner is, the more accentuated a driver's skill is, because you just spend more time in that corner, and your inputs are just that much more important in that corner. So looking through this lap, taking that chicane very, very well. Not a lot of feedback on the wheel, and the car is applied quite well through that sequence of corners, but falling through the Mickey Mouse chicane again, losing a bit on the apex, but then on the exit as well, I think is feeding away. So all these guys are not as consistent as they'd like to be, because we're just seeing them dropping back and gaining back again, with the driver in front and behind them. And let's see if that inconsistency is the major role of what is to come in the latter part of the race, where they're all going to be fighting for positions. Where the prize money is up to P4. I think as Samad makes a big mistake, loses out in the last chicane, where he was quite quick and was gaining on the cars in front, but it's pushed a bit too hard, and cars spat him out to the side of the track, and he's going to have to claw his way back up into P4.
Yeah, once again, just a bit of news coming in. Baldy being handed a 10 seconds and 1 penalty point. 5 seconds out of those 10 seconds for an unsafe re-entry, and another 5 seconds and 1 penalty point for dangerous driving and causing the collision. So this, despite Samad Habib's mistake, if Samad can start pushing a little bit and get within the 10 seconds of Baldy, he's hanging around 11 and a half. If he does push a bit, and if Kiran also closes in and starts fighting, then Samad will also be in that 10 seconds, and he will get promoted up a place, and Baldy will lose a place. Although ideally for Samad, he should have been in P3 himself. But yeah, it is what it is, and we'll see how that unfolds. If Samad can close in into that 10 seconds gap.
Absolutely, 10 seconds. I mean, he's 11 a bit seconds behind what he needs to be. Just gain a second and a half, and he'll be in for that P4 position. But it proves good news for Kiran as well, because that's just a free position for him to gain now. But what's going to be interesting to see, as you see, probably just climb the curve in that chicane there, what's going to be interesting to see is if Baldy is going to just not fight this position from Kiran behind him, because he does have that tendency looming over him now. Is he just going to open the door for Kiran to pass and do his own race from there, trying to lap as quick as he can behind the Ferrari, or is he just going to battle it out on track for Pride? What do you think is going to be the outcome for that? Do you think the Pride is going to take over, or do you think the racing experience and the racing expertise is going to be the better of him?
I think you just have to put pride aside and let your racing experience take control even after having a penalty, because if you put everything else but your sportsmanship on the line, then it just becomes a very, very bad situation for you as well as the people around, because then you just start driving in a dangerous way, of course unintentionally, but once that mindset's changed in the back of your head, it's just very, very hard to improve on that, as Ashley is actually pulling in a few seconds to Dipanshu here. He's pulled in a second to Dipanshu, but then again, with 5 minutes remaining, only a miracle can save Ashley. Dipanshu does make a mistake there, but it's nothing too much to help Ashley close in. Potentially a spin or a very, very sort of a tank slappy moment is what Ashley is hoping for from Dipanshu, to be honest, because going off the track here and there will lose him some time, but having that 14-second margin to the car behind will be no issues for him. So really, Ashley is hoping for a lot to try and have at least some bit of a chance now at that P1 after having a very, very bad qualifying and a terrible start to this race.
I don't think he's going to be all too disappointed with that. I mean, he did have a bad qualifying shot, but he's done good damage mitigation by crawling back up to P2, so he's not going to feel too hard done by that. But Gopi is taking it quite easy right now, not using a lot of the track as well, as you can see on the exits. Which he does have the luxury to do that, because that buffer is present as of yet. For the back, Body is still defending hard from Kiran, and in fact he's pulled away from Kiran quite a margin actually, around 3 odd seconds, 2 odd seconds from Ferrari. So he has answered, and I think he's trying to pull 10-second gap, but I don't think that it's going to be quite possible for the Merc driver unless he just goes and does some monstrous lap times one after another, taking advantage of that Merc, that good drivability the Merc has on the circuit, and despite those lap times, but so far it seems quite unlikely for that to happen. 3 minutes left in the session. Things are somewhat spaced out. Drivers are starting to bring it home now. You never know, Kiran could be putting on a late charge. Ashley certainly is trying to, but Koki is just answered, and sort of, the gap is sort of stagnating on the second mark. So, pretty sure Ashley is going to focus on making it home. Not taking too many liberties of the track limits as to not pick up the drive-through, which would be quite unfortunate in this part of the race, especially with him being run P2 right now. But yeah, winners and losers in the race. Let's talk about those. Patel having quite a dismal race, having a spin here and there, quite iffy qualifying as well. So a race to forget for the McLaren driver. Samad as well, a bit of a downer. He was in the fray with those 3 cars around him, which is great to watch. So all thanks for him to provide that action for us, where he was looking to put on the charge and Body and get the move done, but then Body did fight back quite fairly and get the position back from the McLaren driver. But yeah, great. Still a good showing from Samad, and Although he does have to do a bit of defending right now, but the Lamb does have that 10 seconds looming over him, so he isn't going to be too concerned about that gap behind him, but just making his way through these corners to conservation mode. Lambo taking it a bit too much further and being rushed again. Yeah, winners of this race definitely Protein. Ashray as well, having fall for P5. Good drive from him. Bit of wheel banging here and there, but all with chest. And we do say that rubbing is racing, and racing is what we want to see. So, that.
Racing is always racing until it turns into incidents, and then that's not racing anymore, is it? But yeah, tense is what Yash has him, right? And yeah, with Samad Habib, I'm not sure why he's lapping 2 seconds and lap slower, and why he's just dropped off that pace much. I think that damage that he had earlier from the incident, I think that is what, in combination with the tire wear, has what slowed him down. And yeah, if Dipanshu does decide to slow down, then this will also be the last lap. But I think that will be too much for him to slow down. So I think we might have just one more lap in this race. With 20 seconds left on the clock, so it's just going to be time plus 1. And yeah, with the Baldy with the 10 seconds as well, he's actually 4 seconds away. So unless he can somehow do 6 seconds in just one lap, I think it will not be it. And I do stand corrected as Dipanshu comes across the line and actually wins the race. So I think he did decide to slow down at the end there, because why waste everyone's time? Ashray with a very, very good recovery comes up to a P2 in this race after having a very, very bad qualifying. Baldy on track P3, but after the 10 seconds will fall back down to P4. He should fall back down to P4, shouldn't he?
Yeah, as the drivers slowly cross over the line to finish the first race of tonight. First 30-minute race track of Zolder. Dipanshu with a comfortable win by 8 seconds. So that gap did come down, but I think that's just Dipanshu slowing down so everyone can finish on time. So good of him to do that. But a good race nonetheless. Good battles. We had a 4-way fight momentarily with Baldy being the instigator after going off track. He was charging with Dipanshu, but then that offing did lead him into the mid pack with Ashray, Samad, and Kiran. And Ashray did win that battle in the end. So, props to him. After poor qualifying, he's got back to P2. Could we see the same for the second race? I'm not quite sure. Although it is quite easy to race in Silverstone with the track being wider. And just the nature of the circuit, promoting good racing with the different lines you can take, especially in Sector 2 and 3. But yeah, thoughts on that event simply. I think that was quite a whelming session for all the viewers and for us as well.
Yeah, well, the race was quite good, to be honest. Especially with those battles here and there, and seeing Tropi dominate on a track where he was struggling a week ago, and of course Ashray making that amazing comeback. Those were all quite nice to see. Of course, a few incidents here and there, 10 seconds picked up by 2 drivers, not something that they really wanted, especially with Baldy, who's actually lost out on some crucial points. And he's moved down a few positions because of that. But overall, still quite a good race. And considering that, Dipanshu dominated Zolder, a track where he's not too good. And then we have Britain coming up where he is extremely good. Perhaps, hopefully not. But for the sake of racing and for the sake of entertainment, however, we could see an even bigger gap from Dipanshu in Silverstone. But then again, we just have to wait and see what happens after this very short break.
Like a Hellcat.
rages around like an ocean in my head. I can almost feel you walking in the distance, but I know that it's not reality. If you are echoing around inside these parallel dimensions all alone, know I'll find you in my dreams. I can almost feel you walking in the distance, but I know that it's not reality. I live my life on the run. I say I'm not giving up. I may be living alone, but I still believe in love. In a similar way, I feel I'm losing my conscience. Traveling for days without my knowledge of provenance. Throughout my life, you called me a renegade. Through all my lows, you said we could start again, but I'm a renegade of your love. But I'm a renegade of your love.
Been on the streets a few months. I'm trying to pick myself up. I may be living alone, but I still believe in love. And although my flaws had dragged me down on the coldest night, I'm still kicking around. Then I saw you back before my time was shortened. No, throughout my life you called me a renegade. Throughout my loves you said we could start again, but I'm a renegade of your love.
Right, everyone. Welcome once again to our little bit of a race that we have going on now. Well, not now, but rather in a few minutes. But yeah, an interesting race we saw at Zolder. We have 30 minutes of Silverstone coming up, a track where Dipanshu is very, very dominant. And, it goes to show because last time around he won by nearly a margin of 30 seconds, and Zolder at a track where he does struggle at, he in fact won at that track with a gap of 30 seconds initially before of course slowing down so that he does not cross the line after the time. Moto, what do you think? What can we expect from Dipanshu and even of course other drivers like Samad and Ashley going into Silverstone here?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's home territory for Dipanshu in a way. I mean, if you speak of his dominance, I wasn't there for the first time Group Two took the to the track, but if he's that quick, then I think it might be smooth sailing for him. But what's interesting is what different approach Ashray is going to take into lap one, because he did have that skirmish in the first one, where he did sustain some damage, which did delay his charge back to P2 by quite a bit. So maybe he might be a bit tentative on lap one now, or maybe he's just going to go for the big guns and just go straight for it into for P2 for lap one. So it's all a lot of plot lines are unveiling over there in that regard. Samad had a bit of a downer. He was in the fray for P3, P2 at one point, and even till he had that offing in the chicane. So yeah, it's a lot of different plot lines unveiling right now. Kiran has another chance to pick up his boots and go on from there, sort of redeem himself, which is why this format is just working out pretty well because it just gives the driver a second chance, a second bite of the cherry to redeem themselves and not make the same mistakes they did in the previous race. Having already raced with the drivers once, you already know how one will react to a certain move. You might choose to try something new, which can always result in better wheel to wheel action, which is shortly going to come up as the drivers take to the track. But I think my 2 cents on it, simply no two ways about it. Might see a similar grid finishing order at the end of it. Might see completely jumbled up grid. It's all to play for.
To play for. Yeah, I can't really say much about that. I can't really give any predictions because, as you said, these guys are in their respective ways very close to each other in terms of pace. So, actually guessing where anyone could particularly be at is just too hard of a task right now with this group at least to say with confidence. But yeah, one thing I can say with confidence is that we're going to have a very good race with a lot of actions, of course, coming up, and hopefully no penalties like we did see in the first race. Just pure, clean, and hard racing action. Whenever we are ready, we will be switching over to of course, the race. But again, in the meantime, if you guys are tuning in just now, we do have quite a bit of McLaren domination going on. The McLaren guys do actually seem to be doing quite well today, at least at Zolder. They've done exponentially well with, of course, Dipanshu winning. And then, we've had Parth, who could not do perfectly well. Because not sure why he might have had some sort of issues in his, with his setup, and because of that, he just had to retire early on. We also had Dhruv, who was looking quite solid before, of course, he had to pull out of the race because his rig having some issues. So, the McLaren guys are doing fairly well. And what I think you can do fairly well, Voto, is taking this away with this race start.
Yeah, surely. As we get the timer ticks to zero, drivers have loaded in the setups. Hopefully everyone has, because could be a real downer if you forget to load your setup, and which is completely possible. Sim. As everyone riding the brakes, riding the throttle, getting the tires and brakes up to temp, getting them nice and toasty for the first corner of Silverstone. Completely different track. Trophy getting ready and waiting for the green flag, having a nice margin over P2 of the Ferrari of Kiran. Ashley gets a great start right up the rear of Yash, but then Yash is acting as a blockade, and who gets past the Ferrari of Kiran himself. So defending turn to attack real quick there as Ashley swoops around the outside of the Magnussen package section and very nearly turns in on the Ferrari, who wisely chose to back out. But a clean start by all the drivers here. Trophy once again having a clean getaway, not being challenged into turn 1 or turn 2, and already has a sizable buffer in the second over P2. But the Lambo of Yash having a very good start in the second race. He was having a dismal in the first race. So, yeah, good sign of things to come for the Lambo driver right now. But he does have a very, very quick and rapid driver of the likes of Ashray right up behind him. Where Patel again loses out at the start, and Kiran and Baldy also put on the charge, defending, attacking the Lambo in front of them, who is going to have a monumental task keeping 3 very, very quick drivers right behind him. Yeah, simply, that was a clean getaway.
Absolutely, that was an ideal getaway for Ashray here. Already up into P3. Dipanshu, despite having pulled away a gap initially of 1 second just to P2, he's lost out some time there. His gap is now 1 second to P3 and only about 7/10 to P2. So Ashray has a lot of potential here. Even if he does finish with P2, he'll absolutely take a double P2 today. Of course, Yash is not going to make it easy at all for Ashray to be able to get that P2. Of course, Dipanshu will be delighted the fact that Ashray can't get that P2 as Kiran almost dipping his tires into the dirt there as they do come across the line now to finish the first lap. A very, very good lap for these guys. And if you look within a few hundreds of each other, Ashray actually 300s faster than Dipanshu's first lap time. Of course, you can't really take first lap's time to give too much consideration. But it is a sign of good things to come if he can continue on this pace without making any mistakes, without getting involved in any incidents, and of course making smart moves. So hopefully he can fight with Dipanshu over here, as we can once again see in a very nice split screen. You can see Yash is rear, so what the rear of his car is seeing right now, that is actually getting extremely close to it. But yeah, keeping that safe distance still. He is trying to eye up move, having a look down the inside at a few corners here, but doesn't look like he will be pulling off anything quite soon, as he's just not close enough to do so.
Great angle there. Lovely angle because you can see where the driver behind is trying to gain on the car in front, who is Yash. Ashray a bit late on the brakes compared to the Lambo, and once again tries to take the outside line, but Yash defends that pretty well, parks his car nice on the middle of the circuit, not allowing Ashray even a slight glimpse of an opportunity for to move down the inside or around the outside there. But this is all causing the pack to just get bunched up that much more as Propi stretches his legs even more, opening a 2-second gap, or a 2-second gap to Ashray near about them, and a 1.5-second gap to Yash there. Ashray really close behind that green Lambo in the Luffield section, where our driver skill is at display. Again, a very low speed section of the circuit, so you really want to be very accurate with your inputs there, and Ashray is doing that. But Yash is again placing his car in the right position on the circuit. As I say that, he goes completely off track into turn 1, but that actually gives him an even more of a buffer, as he was able to get on par that much earlier using the extended part of the runoff there. But then through Amagus and Beckett, you can see further behind, Baldy is hounding the likes of Kiran as well, and whereas Samad is sort of dropping back from this pack. But surely the infighting that's about to proceed is going to allow that purple McLaren, to just get back in the game and in the fray, and sniff opportunities to go up the positions, because he does find himself in a disappointing P6 as of yet.
Yeah, a lot of work to do from Samad's side. A lot of work to do from Ashray's side as well. He's not really putting as much pressure as he'd really like on Yash here. So he will have to do a lot more work because Dipanshu is just pulling away that gap. I mean, almost 2 seconds, just almost on the second lap. So clearly, both of these guys have a lot more work to do. As we see in both the angles, we see Kiran and Baldy fighting it out, as well as Ashley and Vikram fighting it out. So Ashley has a lot more work to do here. He is quite close, and he is getting close. He's got a very good exit out of the second sector chicanes, those very tight ones. But he's run out of road. He just cannot send it. A dive bomb would be too risky of a move to make over there. So he just has to follow close and keep getting closer. Here is where he does make a bit of a mistake usually, and he loses out instantly at whatever time he did make up on earlier. So that is not. It's clearly the last corner being a bit of a challenge for Ashley. Yeah, he's lost a lot of time in the final sector there. The gap does stagnate between the two of them in just the first sector, and then in second sector, Yash pulls away, and in the third sector, in the second sector, Ashley closes in, and the third sector, Yash pulls away. So both of them are pretty much stagnant in terms of pace, which is not ideal for either of them, especially considering that Ashley would ideally want to be in P2 because clearly Dipanshu is even now, even though he's only like 2 seconds, he's pretty much out of contention for getting that P1 here. So I think Ashley just has to do whatever he can to get that P2. Maybe force Yash into a bit of a mistake, because we have seen in the last few races, in the last few races that Yash is quite prone to making mistakes under pressure. So Ashley just has to close that gap in and keep it constantly around that 2 to 3 tenths second gap, because otherwise I don't think Yash will be making a mistake. He's gonna be cautious about what he does, but that is one thing. And of course, getting pressurized while the car behind you is pretty much on your bumper the whole time is another thing. As he does go off slightly wide, will lose him a small bit of time, but then again, nothing too significant to lose in that position. Ashley just
he has been known to be prone to mistakes, but so far he's putting up a good defensive show against a very good driver of that in that mode. As Ashley goes a bit wide, gets a bit distracted by the Lambo's strange braking into that corner, and loses out a lot of time on the exit. He's going to look and get the move done as soon as possible, because once again, Propi is just pulling out. But tell you what, Yash is actually matching the Poncho right now. 59 in the highs, both of them are doing. So it's not completely in the case of where Ashley is, at a lost cause for P1. Because once he gets the move done, Propi is still within arm's reach to get that P1. So Ashley is going to keep on pushing, keep fighting good in the remainder of the race. But not get too cocky, if I would say so, as that will harm him and his race pace, because it's one thing to pass, and again, you want to be consistent with your lap times and just do your own thing and not get too perturbed by what's going on around you. But so far, the green Lambo of Yash has proved to be a good blockade for the cars behind, as they're all bunching up together, which is great to see. It's just going to cause more infighting for the laps to come. But hopefully, if I were him, if I were Dipanshu right now, I would take this opportunity and just fly away. But so far, Dipanshu does seem to be managing his race quite well. And maybe he's going to put on the charge and eke out a gap in the latter stages of the race. What remains to be seen is yet to be known. Both cars very close to each other. Sure, we'll tussle it out a few laps done.
I think that could actually be what Dipanshu is doing. For now, he can just conserve his tires a little bit, because of course the guys behind, they are losing time, because they are fighting each other. Ashley, Vikram, Baldy, all three of these guys, they are fighting each other. course, that's helping the bunch to pull away, by itself. So I don't think he really has to push much right now. Just conserve his tires, and then, of course, later stages in this race, when we have around 10 minutes, 15 minutes left, that is kind of when he gets out properly pushing, and then, further solidify the gap that he has. A lot of dust being kicked up from these guys going off the track, but yeah, no one's making too many mistakes. And what I did want to say was, if you recall to the moment when Yash did go out of the track, I think might have picked up a warning for that. So, of course, we did see these guys struggle for warnings and track limits, of course. And if you do pick up, I believe, 3 warnings, the fourth one will be a drive-through for you. So you have to be extremely cautious to not make those mistakes of going off the track a little too much, not taking the liberty of the track limits a little too much. As Ashray, he is closing in. Gap remains at 1/10 of a second between the two drivers. Clearly, Ashray is struggling just a tad bit when he is in the dirty air of Yash, not making too many mistakes, though, as he does actually end up taking that sausage curve, so that will, of course, lose him a bit of time. Despite that, Merc sitting decently high up, and mostly can take these curbs. Realistically, no racing car can take those big fat sausage curbs, so that is something even he'll have to avoid, because he was closing in there. He was very, very close to Yash in the second sector before he did go over the curb there. So I think that is something you just have to keep an eye out for, and avoid making such tiny mistakes, which, of course, over a race distance will add up to his pace, and will add up to the results of the race at the end of it.
Yeah, that Lambo proving to be a really good blockade, really good defensive driving so far, and I think Ashley has learned from the previous race. He's not being too aggressive about his moves because it's just the risk of the cars behind, bouncing on that opportunity and taking up those positions up for grabs after the incidents in front of them. But yeah, Yash seems to have picked himself up from the Zolder race and doing quite well for himself, not dropping all too much back from the poncho either. So it's safe to say he does have a lot of race pace in that car of his, and might have actually delved in more time to look this track out of Zolder, which is a track which is quite annoying to practice on with how unforgiving it is. You can easily get put down by how technical that circuit is and how much how physical it is as well. Even though they're all sim races and all in the comfort of their own rigs and whatnot. With the amount of work you need to do on the wheel in that circuit, it really does require a bit of physique. So yeah, it does get tiring after a while, but Silverstone is a bit more easy. It's more easy on the shoulders rather. So yeah, maybe that's being taken advantage of by Yash. As Bonnie is very, very close to the rear of that Ferrari. Could we see a dive down the inside here? Ferrari goes defensive back to the racing line. The bird goes down the inside and gets the move done very nicely. Though I think the Ferrari might be going around the outside, but all this attacking and defending has led to him losing another position. As Vilka very, very cleverly takes a position down the inside. He goes up here and gets the position done. So good, clever racing by the McLaren of Samant there. That's what I meant, positions up for grabs because of the incidents up ahead. You don't need to be clever and quick on your feet when you're racing and be ready to pounce in such opportunities, and because they are quite rare in this sim. With how heavy these cars are, it's quite hard to make micro adjustments in the mid corner, try to go wheel to wheel. So yeah, Samant has pounced on that opportunity very well, and gotten the move done around down the inside of that lovely section. Though I think Kiran is gonna be pretty perturbed by that. Is he gonna go for a move down the inside? No. Oh, I think Samant misses going by quite a bit and has knocked out the Merc body, and that's not what you want to see whatsoever. I think he got a bit too distracted by Kiran, who did make a little bit of a nudge to the inside, trying to occupy his mirrors, and I think that did dissuade him quite a bit, where he was forced into braking quite late, or rather missing his braking point completely into Stowe, and uh, that collision was the aftermath of that little move that Kiran made. So clever racing by Kiran, taking two positions of that clever move he made down the inside, just poking his nose in there, and yeah, that's not a good day for not a good event for Nirma, but a great turn of events for the Ferrari.
Yeah, absolutely. Kiran will be delighted with that. Gaining two positions, moving up into P4, he'll absolutely take that. A very uncharacteristic sort of a mistake from Samad, I would say, though that those kind of mistakes of outbreaking himself and such. Those are not really the ones you really see from him. So I think, yeah, the distraction might be it. Although, of course, it's not his first time, outbreaking himself and hitting a car, and then you're also being hit, in return by it. But it is what it is. Mistakes do happen from the best of us, and he's gonna try and get clawback whatever he can. But yeah, that will definitely be a time penalty. Not gonna guess how much, but I can guess, or rather say with certainty that will be a penalty.
You know, the way you phrase that right now, it reminds me of an old joke. Where when a guy punches someone and says, "Well, you better apologize for walking into my fists," because that is completely on Nirma. He did miss his breaking point by quite a bit. So, yeah, I don't think the damage which he's gotten after that is he's going to complain about that, because I don't think he has any right to complain about damage suffered from a move instigated by himself. So he's just going to go on about it, put that on the back of his head and just get on with the racing. And it seems that the damage is equal on both his cars, because both of them have dropped back substantially, and they are getting ready to go out tussling on the track once again.
Is the best they can do, and of course the stewards, thanks to us having live stewarding, are looking at what's going on right now, looking at the replays. And yeah, I mean, it was Samad's mistake here, no doubt in that, but he's still now gonna, of course, pay the expenses of his own mistakes, as he very clearly is dealing with a lot of understeer, along with obviously having that dirty F with the car ahead, and yeah, he's just struggling for grip right now. I think he did have quite a bit of damage. I mean, it was certainly a very high speed crash that happened between the two of them. So yeah, Samad will of course have a lot more damage coming off from it, and clearly that's resulting in a bit of understeer. And he's gone off his first 5 seconds already, just as I say that. And will it be another 5? Yep, that is another 5. So I'm also going to assume that he does get one penalty point alongside with. Yes, he does. He gets 10 seconds with one penalty point for causing a severe collision. So yeah, not an ideal bit for him. Even if he somehow does get past Baldy, it will pretty much be impossible to pull away a 10-second gap in 11 minutes that do remain in this race.
Indeed, he finds himself with the 10 seconds. But I still think he's going to try and take this position fairly, because pride is at stake here. And what's not to love about being racing. So, both of these drivers are going to battle it out in the laps to come. Further up ahead, I think Ashley sort of settled into his groove. He's showing his pace now, and is leading Kieran by around 5 odd seconds, and that's a pretty sizable margin he has on the car behind. What else? Yeah, this race has gone by quite quick actually. A lot of action in Silverstone. Walking away at the wheel, Baldy gets a huge snap of oversteer there. It recovers very well, but will it be enough to defend into Lafayette? Let's have a look. As we have the picture-in-picture showing the helicopter view a bit too far back to go for the move, but the braking is completely messed up by the movement there as he goes completely offline, which allows Hilma to have another part of the cherry. Though I think both these drivers are just sort of managing the car right now. You can see the damage on the rear of that of the Merc, and I'm pretty sure the damage on the front of Hilma of Samad's car is going to be quite substantial as well. So both these cars are in equal footing, if you would say so. They both have quite a lot of damage, and they're all fighting right away. Because Nirma does have that 10 seconds looming over him, but wants to say, I mean, why wouldn't he enjoy a bit of wheel racing? And that's exactly what this shows.
That is the best that we can get out of this situation right now, at least. Obviously, with Samad having front end damage and Balde having rear end damage, both of them have significant loss of downforce at this point. So, yeah, the best they can do is follow, and Samad almost having flashbacks of what he did just 2 laps ago, and he could have been the first driver with a 20-second time penalty potentially right there. But kudos to him for actually stopping the car around this time, because otherwise that would have been in a disaster for him, considering, of course, that today is his birthday, and clearly I have jinxed him, because all that birthday spirit is clearly not showing right now, and it's of course gone from bad to worse from the first race.
Yeah, very near repeat of the incident which has given him that 10-second time penalty. Ashley still finds himself staring at that Lambo's diffuser for the past 5 or so laps now, so he will certainly be getting frustrated. Uh, but props to Yash, he's doing a very good defensive drive. That amount of pressure for so many laps to come is no joke, really. With a car that big as well, with the Merc occupying your mirrors and more constantly for the last few laps. So yeah, good on him. Great drive from Rush. Further down, Samad still hot under the rear of the Merc of Body. Very wide lines. I think that's the damage speaking for itself there. The car just not being able to angle into the apex properly. He's going to have to make do with what he has, the tools he's been provided with the now worn out tools he has. It's going to be a drive of endurance in the end. How much longer can that damage actually suffice till someone actually, again makes a big mistake and falls behind? But on the braking, you can see that it just hasn't, taught him all too well. He's still braking very late in that corner. But, that's just great, because he's not perturbed by that incident. He's put that on the back of his mind. And he's trying to still get the move done on merit, on track. So, good for him there. Good for him indeed. Further up ahead, it seems Ashley is still a second or so behind as these two drivers head on through Abbey, falling nice and smoothly. But again, yeah, you can see how much more late that purple McLaren is on the brakes. The Evo does have more downforce inherently than the Merc. So I think even with the damage, Samad is able to carry just more speed through these corners. But that Merc is quite stable on the exits, and he is gaining on the exits evidently. And it's all causing both of them to maintain that gap which they have right now. And I'm pretty sure Baldy is going to be quite aware of how Samad is driving, and if he sees a move coming, I think he might just back out and not risk any more damage. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these two take it on track in the laps to come.
Yeah, well, hopefully it doesn't result in another collision, because when you're already under braking, and if you see a car coming very, very rapidly towards you, your first instinct is not really slamming on the power again, because it just doesn't make sense. You're braking down to, of course, slow down for the corner. You're also turning in towards the corner, and then now you've hit the throttle again, and now you've gone the opposite way. Your tires are just going to lose all of the grip. I'm genuinely out of words for what's happening on that particular corner, because lap after lap after lap after that incident, Samad just seems to be breaking late there. For all we know, Samad could be doing it on purpose, because over the laps, of course, Baldy will, of course, you don't get used to a car getting extremely close to your rear end that way. So it is something that, maybe Samad is actually doing on purpose now to force Baldy into a mistake, because if Baldy does spin out, of course, Samad, despite having that 10 seconds penalty, can pull away those 10 seconds. So I think at this point, I think Samad might have put the one. Oh, never mind. It is Baldy making the mistake, and he has spun out. It looks like I might have just predicted what's happened. But yeah, will he spin again? No, he just stops the car, gets the car under control. Tires will be blazing hot. But yeah, Yash Vikram, I think he's also made a mistake, because Ashray is in P2 and Yash is in P3. He's lost 4 seconds to Ashray there, comparing the lap time. So yeah, he clearly has made a mistake somewhere. Ashray has gone past really nicely, and so has Samad Habib. But now the crisis still remains with Samad, because he has a 10-second time penalty. Question remains, can he pull away those 10 seconds, or will he have to suffice with Baldy, taking with that P5 and, Samad having to finish P6?
Well, folks, if you have any lottery numbers with you, do give them into Simply to Judge, because you might be able to guess that correctly. I can't believe that's just happened. Baldy actually spun out, and that's given Nirma a second chance, a second
He's in the pits.
A second light. He's in the pits. It's confirmed. He's going to keep that position. He's going to keep 5 as Baldy, I think, is coming to pits to repair the damage on his car. No, I think he's just called it quits, and he's had just about enough of driving that beaten up Merc. But yeah, even Yash has made a mistake which we sadly missed, although those cars were very close to each other, so couldn't put our eyes away from that action. But that mistake has actually, played perfectly into the hands of the Ferrari, who's right behind Yash right there, 1.8 or so seconds about. That gap's slowly increasing now, but it's like the mentality of it. Once you have a car in your sights, in your peripherals, you really don't want to let it go, and you just start pushing that much more, and that in turn actually results in a better race pace as well. It really does affect the driver, a lot when you have a car just right in front of you. So it could give Kiran that last breath, last run of wind, as you would call it, to get that move done for P3. But so far it seems that Yash is not too dissuaded by that really mistake he's made, and is still pushing on, doing consistent lap times. However, on that last lap, I think Yash was a bit quicker than Vikram. Yash was a bit slower than Kiran there, but he's still pushing on very well. Propi, in the meanwhile, doesn't have that big of a gap to Ashray, which is quite surprising actually, because we did put this as one of his most dominant circuits in this event. So that gap is quite small by his standards, but I don't think he's too worried about that. A win is a win after all. It doesn't matter how much you win, but it's that you win. That's what's important. So Ashray is going to put on the charger, but with 1 minute left, I'm highly likely to do anything. So he's going to stay put and secure P2.
Kiran getting a drive-through on the last lap. Could actually help out Samad Habib here. He can't serve the drive-through on his last lap. That will turn into a 30-second time penalty. Is he going to disqualify? Yeah, he might disqualify if we follow the trends from before. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out on that. What's going to happen to Kiran? Because this is not ideal. On the last lap, we saw day before yesterday, with Gupta getting a drive-through with a few laps ago, he got disqualified at the end. What about Kiran? What's going to happen to him? Maybe it will turn into a 30-second penalty. Maybe it will turn into a disqualification as he comes across the line. I have no idea. But one thing I do have an idea about is the fact that Dipanshu has once again comes across the line and wins at Silverstone. Not really a dominant drive, but realistically, he didn't even have to dominate here. A very, very good drive from him, none the least, with the Yash Vikram coming P3. So that is a solid result for him. Samad Habib in P5, and Kiran is in. He did get 30 seconds for the flank penalties. I think the leaderboard's slightly messed up right now. I'm not sure
Yeah, I think he's taken
why. But
P4.
yeah, he's taken P4 with Baldy unfortunately finishing up in P6. So yeah, that was an interesting race for sure, with last minute drive-throughs for these drivers. Ideally, of course, not what they wanted, but that incident between Samad as well as Baldy, that was something really nobody expected to begin with. But yeah, that was an interesting day. And let's not forget, we do have some racing action coming towards you tomorrow as well. We have the Group 3 boys coming. But before we sign off, Moto, how would you like to sum up this race?
Yeah, it seems that Nirma, who's having quite a bad party, if you will, got two metaphorical peasants with two drivers just conveniently crashing their way out to make way for him. So, at the end of the day, I think he might just laugh about it because he did have that 10 seconds, but he did finish in a higher position had he not, started off with that collision. So, I think it all worked out in the end of it. But yeah, great entertaining race for us and for the viewers. Yeah, that was lovely to watch. Ashley again, P2, a solid result for him. Yash could have taken that P2, but having said that, he did make a mistake, so might be a bit perturbed by that, but still, a podium is a podium at the end of the day. Two DNFs, if you will, DNFs. Finishing the pits was Parth Patel and Baldy having suffered that contact by Samad. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think that's a very good day five. A lot of action in both the events, and this group, like the first day for this group, did promise once again. But yeah, folks, that's it for tonight. Hope you enjoyed the stream. This is Moto and Yog signing out. See you guys next time.
Run free and dive into the sky. Hear the wind crying out its prayer, while we so ashamed to be alive. Break the chains and our freedom's out to take. not behind your back. Chase a light when the world is getting darker. I have a dream where love's the only side. So take my hand, join the army of the side.